Just a quick little guide on how to assemble my little adapter assembly for connecting 15mm drives to some 80mm fans. You will need a handful of different things. I'm using four, what are these? 4 25mm M4 bolts along with 4 45mm M4 bolts, and then the relevant locking nuts. Don't necessarily have to use these like nylock style nuts, but I am concerned about vibration shaking things loose, so that's what I'm going with personally. And the reason for the longer ones is once you have this assembled, partially I guess, so once you have this assembled like this, you need to install these. Well, if you install those and then install the fan, you can't easily get to the screw. You have to kind of go catty corner and wonky and stuff. So then the easier solution is just to have these screws going from the outside. You could do that on both sides, but I'm using the fan as a mounting point, so that is the reason why I'm using 25mm screws. I already have this side attached, since no point in making you watch that. But this process basically, get this on here. In my case, I have the cage on one side and then bars on the other. The bars are basically the cage without the middle section. I did that for airflow reasons because there's stuff I'm cooling beyond the drives. If you don't really care about cooling beyond the drives, then it kind of just comes down to whatever floats your boat. Trying to do this around a tripod is not easy. You don't want to tighten them down all the way until you get all four, just in case you don't have good alignment. You shouldn't need this wrench if you're not using the nylock nuts, but it is handy. You can actually get it down pretty far before you actually end up needing the wrench. You could also use 25mm screws on both ends if you want to use a hex head bolt. I thought about using hex head bolts, but for serviceability reasons, I figured Phillips is going to be easier to work with because I am trying to make this easily serviceable. I'm going to start this off frame. This one's being difficult. There we go. The initial start, it's kind of tricky because you don't really have anything supporting the drives. They're just kind of dangling there. They're dangling there pretty rigidly, but there's a tiny bit of slack to them. Alright, that one's tight. Now, since I am wanting a little bit more airflow, like I said, I'm using these bars. As far as I can tell, most fine thread screws will work with these. I designed them particularly for the round head ones. Seems like most of the hex head stuff though that has the fine threads will also work. As of recording this, I haven't designed a model yet for the thinner drives. I think there might be interest for a 4-drive model, but there already are things out there that exist, so I didn't put the effort into designing it since it's not something I'm going to need, as nice as it would be. I think they make slim SAS drives. Slim SAS solid state drives, that is. But I have already committed to these, so that's kind of where that lies. So I just want to figure out my wire orientation. I think we're going like that. Once you get one side done though, it's pretty easy. There we go. Got those fed through. Whoops. One other thing worth noting, which I'm kind of conflicted on, it's probably not that big of a deal, but if you do run the wire along the threads of the screw, you probably want to put something over them to protect them. So like in my case, I used some heat shrink over the threads on the other one that I put together. You don't heat shrink it down over the threads, you just find one that's big enough to slip over like a big plastic washer. I think I'm just going to change this though, because I don't feel like dealing with that on this one. And odds are it'll probably never rub through, but I would say it's just a good practice to be cautious, because the last thing you want is something shorting out in your important PC. And as you can see, these are a little long. I probably could have went with 40mm. I don't know if there was a 40mm option. Oh, that's why. No, you still, depending on which model you print, you still actually do need, probably will need the longer. These two bars are 10mm, and my other plates that I'm using for brackets are 13. I should have went down to the 10mm measurement, but I kind of got tunnel vision and stuck with it. It is probably better for airflow though, because basically if you put the back of a fan up against a wall, it can't move as much air than if you give it a little bit of a gap between the fan and the wall. And I was kind of playing around with the dimensions and stuff, and it seemed like anything over 10 millimeters was fine. There we go. After designing this, oh man, I forgot to mount that. Oh well. I'm gonna screw on a little cable tie thing. Funny thing is, after making this, I'm just starting to like metric now. It was a lot easier to do this in millimeters than trying to figure out how to do this in 1/16 of an inch or whatever. So as much as I hate to say it, those freedom units aren't so great. Although I'm still not a fan of Celsius. I like Fahrenheit better. Also, I think we're fine. Let's see. You don't want to over tighten these. Oops. Because you will bend the frame of the fan. There are some structural pieces that stop you from basically crushing it. But my assumption is that even if these outer tabs are bent, it's going to probably affect how straight the fan is, and then mess with its ability to spin. The other one of these I put together was so much easier to do when there wasn't a tripod in the way. Also, part of me would be tempted, ouch, that's sharp. I'm tempted to use power tools, but I don't want to accidentally break something. Alright, that should be good. So basically you have something that looks like this once you're done. You don't have to do both fans. I'm doing both fans because I actually do need the airflow. I probably could use more than I have even, but this is what it'll look like with both fans. And then basically you can mount everything to one fan side. I would just be mindful, I guess, too, of structural. So with this is designed for the Sliger CX2177A, and the frame protrudes 2.5 millimeters below the fan because it's basically going to be resting on the case, and then the fan's going to hold it in place. But if you end up using my model, hopefully that assembly is helpful, because I know how it could be confusing when you're trying to screw fans to one side and then the other side it's like, oh well, what do I do now? But either way, thanks for watching.